The United States is in a fight for its life, but it's not a fight with armies or tanks. It's a battle for the roads, rivers, and sea lanes that move all the world's money and goods. For years, China has been quietly buying up the world's most important crossroads. Now, Washington is fighting back, but not in the way you'd expect. They aren't building a bigger wall. They're building a secret network of their own, a web of alliances designed to cut China off at the knees. And the centerpiece is a brand new railway in Africa that could change everything. The best part is coming up. Let me tell you why this matters. Over 80% of everything you own, from the shirt on your back to the phone in your hand, traveled across an ocean to get to you. For decades, this system worked like a perfectly oiled machine, thanks to two critical shortcuts: the Suez Canal in Egypt and the Panama Canal in Central America. But in the last year, this machine has completely broken down. First, the Suez Canal. Conflict in the region has made it a no-go zone for major shipping companies. The numbers are just staggering. By the middle of 2024, container traffic through the canal had plunged by over 80%. Instead of taking the shortcut, giant container ships are now forced to take the long way around Africa, a detour that adds over 3,000 miles and weeks to their journey. At the exact same time, half a world away, the Panama Canal is facing a crisis of its own. But this one wasn't caused by people. It was caused by the weather. A historic drought has left the canal literally gasping for water. They had to cut the number of ships passing through from about 36 a day down to just 22. This created a traffic jam of epic proportions, costing companies billions. So you have the two most important arteries of global trade clogged at the same time. It's chaos. But here's something you probably didn't know. This chaos isn't just a problem. For one country, it's a golden opportunity. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. What China did while everyone was distracted by these shipping nightmares is the real story. While the world was panicking about shipping delays, China was making its biggest move yet. You've probably heard of their Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI. Well, in 2024, they poured a record-breaking $121.8 billion into it. That brings their total spending to over $1.175 trillion. Let me put that in perspective. That's more than $1 million. They are building a global network of ports, railways, and pipelines across 149 different countries. It's like they're building a whole new circulatory system for the planet, one where all arteries lead back to Beijing. And believe it or not, they're getting smarter about it. They're not just building roads anymore. They're targeting the things that will power the future. They invested a record $11.8 billion in green energy projects and another $21.4 billion in mining for special metals, the kind you need for electric cars and batteries. They are locking down the resources of tomorrow. It looks like an unstoppable plan to control world trade. But get this. Just as China's grand project seems to be hitting its peak, cracks are starting to show. In December 2023, Italy, a major European power, became the first big country to officially quit the initiative. Then, just a little over a year later, Panama, the country controlling that all-important canal, did the same thing. So why are countries suddenly getting cold feet? What did they discover about China's trillion-dollar deals that made them run for the door? The answer reveals the hidden cost of China's friendship, and it's what forced the United States to finally wake up and launch a counterattack of its own. Next up, you'll see exactly how Washington is fighting back. So how does the United States fight back against a trillion-dollar global construction project? Well, truth be told, they can't match China dollar for dollar, so they're not trying to. Instead of building one giant project, America is weaving a web of alliances and targeted investments designed to offer the world an alternative. It's a quieter, more strategic approach, and it's happening on multiple fronts. First, there's something called the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, or IPEF. It officially kicked off in February 2024. Think of it as a club of countries in Asia, including the US, that have all agreed to work together to make their supply chains stronger and less dependent on any single nation. Read, less dependent on China. Then there's the big money play, the Partnership for Global Infrastructure, or PGI. This is where the US and its allies in the G7 are pooling their resources. They're not just building random roads, they're creating economic corridors in places that are strategically vital. Take the Lobito corridor in Africa. The US is pumping $4 billion into this project to help build a modern railway line. This railway connects the mineral-rich heart of Africa to a port on the Atlantic Ocean. Why? because those mines have the cobalt and copper needed for electric car batteries, and right now, China controls most of that supply. This corridor is a direct challenge to that control. And in Asia, they're building the Luzon Economic Corridor in the Philippines, working with Japan to upgrade ports and railways right on China's doorstep. This move is all about securing the supply chains for computer chips and other high-tech goods. It's a clever strategy, like a series of precision strikes instead of a massive invasion. But this war isn't just being fought with concrete and steel. The most intense battle is happening on a much smaller scale, and it's for control of the very building blocks of our modern world. And trust me, you want to hear this one. This is where the fight gets really serious. It's a battle over two things: the special metals that make all our modern technology possible, and the tiny semiconductors or computer chips that act as the brains for everything from your car to your toaster. First, the metals. China has played the long game brilliantly here. They control the processing of most of the world's critical minerals. For example, they handle about 85% of all rare earth metals. This gives them a terrifying amount of leverage, and they're not afraid to use it. In response to US pressure, Beijing has started to restrict exports of some of these key materials, basically threatening to turn off the faucet for the entire world's tech industry. Now for the brains, the computer chips. This is where the US holds the high ground. America and its allies design and build the most advanced chips in the world, so Washington has launched what many call a chip war. They've put tight restrictions in place to stop China from getting its hands on these high-end chips and the machines needed to make them. It's a calculated move to slow down China's technological and military ambitions. This high-tech war has turned one place into the most dangerous spot on Earth: the island of Taiwan. Taiwan is home to a single company that makes over half of the world's most advanced computer chips. Control Taiwan and you control the brains of the entire global economy. It's a choke point more critical than any canal. But as these two giants wrestle for control of technology, something incredible is happening far away from it all. In the coldest part of our planet, a brand new multi-trillion-dollar opportunity is opening up, and it's starting a new kind of gold rush. For centuries, the top of the world was a frozen, impassable wasteland, but now the Arctic is melting. And as the ice disappears, two legendary shipping routes that were once just a dream are starting to become a reality: the Northern Sea Route over Russia and the Northwest Passage through Canada. These routes are a potential game-changer. They could cut the shipping time from Asia to Europe by up to 50%. A ship could sail from China to Germany and completely bypass the Suez Canal and all the trouble in the Middle East. It's a direct shot. Russia is already pushing its Northern Sea Route hard, using its fleet of massive icebreakers to lead the way. They moved a record 37.8 million tons of cargo through it in 2024. And this is where another player steps onto the field. Canada, America's northern neighbor, suddenly finds itself controlling one of the most strategic pieces of real estate on the planet. For years, the US and Canada have disagreed on the Northwest Passage. Washington sees it as an international waterway, while Ottawa claims it as its own territory. To back up its claim, Canada is making a huge move. They've committed nearly $8.5 billion to build two brand new state-of-the-art polar icebreakers. These aren't just ships, they're a statement. Canada is positioning itself to be the gatekeeper of this new Arctic frontier, benefiting from a global game largely driven by Washington and Beijing. So here we are. The old reliable pathways of global trade are broken. In their place, a new map is being drawn, not by explorers, but by the strategic moves of the United States and China. This isn't merely a rewiring. It's a tearing down of the old circuits to build two entirely separate, competing grids. It's a fight on every level. It's a battle of concrete and steel, but the front line is shifting. While China's Belt and Road carves continents, a shadow war is being waged by autonomous deep-sea drones clashing silently over cobalt-rich nodules in the Pacific Abyss. America's targeted economic corridors are not just about trade. They're digital fortresses, laying down fiber optic cables that create a new digital iron curtain, splitting the global internet into a Western sphere and a Sinosphere, each with its own apps, its own truths, and its own AI-driven propaganda. This is a technological war far beyond chips and rare metals. The true prize is biological data. Imagine rival blocks hoarding vast genetic databases as national treasures, leading to a world where breakthrough medical treatments are reserved for allied populations, or worse, where genetically targeted plagues become the ultimate deterrent. The new race for territory isn't just in the melting Arctic. It's for the Lagrange points in space and the water ice-rich craters on the moon's south pole. A tense standoff between robotic mining outposts could decide who powers the 22nd century. This great rewiring affects the price of gas, the availability of your next phone, and the very fabric of reality. We are moving beyond competing systems and toward parallel civilizations. Think of a world with two dominant digital currencies, two independent scientific research communities, even two versions of accepted history, piped directly into the minds of their populations. In this schism, neutrality is an illusion. Nations that try to walk the middle path will be torn apart by economic pressure and cyber-espionage. Even powerful multinational corporations might be forced to splinter into separate politically compliant entities. A Western Apple and an Eastern Apple, selling different products that serve different masters. The lines are drawn, and the world isn't just being forced to choose a side, it's being forced to choose a reality. So tell me, will China's trillion-dollar web reshape the world? Or can America's alliances cut it apart? Drop your thoughts below, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what's next.